Welcome back, and today we're playing out the F-2A ADTW for the Japanese Tech Tree. Now it is 13.0 and it is a premium, and even though it might have some of the best flight performance in the entire game, and that is including 14.7s, this thing is majorly held back by the AIM-7Ms at 13.0. They are Fox 1s, they are pretty easily defeatable, and even if you aren't able to kinetically dodge them, you can simply just outroll them, and this makes them kind of obsolete against anything that really has hands. Luckily, we also have a lot of premium enemies that don't know how to set up their wing sweep control. So overall the plane is definitely playable, but in the right or wrong rather matches, the plane becomes a little bit frustrating to play. Then we have the AIM-3s, which are some of the best IR missiles in the game. They are basically upgraded AIM-9Ms. They have more range because they have less drag, and they're just better. They pull more, they have more range, they lose less energy, and it does catch people off guard pretty often. That's one of the nice things. The radar it's okay, it's definitely good enough. We do miss an HMD, but it's not that big of a deal considering we don't really have high off-ball missiles anyway. The AIM-3 and the AIM-7M just aren't that great off the rail. They need a little bit of room to get going, and once they do, they pull hard enough, but they are definitely not neck breakers like a Mika or an R77 would be. The flight performance in terms of actual gameplay is also pretty good. We have decent speed, we have good accel, we have good retention, we have a good turn. The countermeasures are a little bit lacking, but I do think that it is enough. I haven't really ran out at all, but it's also because I kept flying into trees before I was able to actually run out of countermeasures. I was playing like absolute shit, but don't let that distract you from this plane. It has its issues. It's definitely not the best, and it's definitely not very noob friendly, but I do think that it's overall a pretty solid package if we can take into account that we have to really work around those AIM-7Ms. Now if it had AIM-7Ps, I think it would be a lot better. They have IOG, and if you lose lock you can relock them like you would with an R27ER. And then the missiles would become a little bit more potent. Sometimes the radar just loses lock or they notch. And this essentially means that your missile is dead in the water. Because when you regain lock, and it's after about a second of losing lock, the missile is not going to be retracking. It's not going to be going for the guy that you're trying to shoot at. Unlike with the F-18C shooting down F-14s. ACM mode is a little bit finicky. You can tell that it doesn't always lock what's inside of the box. Sometimes it's just outside of it. It's kind of annoying, but at the same time it doesn't hinder you all that often. The main thing that does hinder you is that all you have is AIM-7Ms. The plane in itself is honestly pretty good. It's a plane that I would recommend you to buy, at least on sale. And that's mainly because, well, in rank 7 we only have the F4EJ and the Hawk 2R9. And then for rank 6 we have the T2 Early and the Aviator S. And then sure, for rank 5 you can make the argument that the F40 Sabre, the JSDAF Sabre, is actually pretty good. And you would be correct, but that is tier 5. And if you want to research something like the F-2A or the F-15J or perhaps even the Su-30 MKM, then you need to be able to actually grind those. So you need to buy 2 or 3 talismans, and overall this is just not going to be very cost effective. So I do think that for the time being that the F-2A ADTW is probably the best that we are going to be getting, at least on sale for the time being, because even if they add an Su-30 MKM or whatever as a premium in the next patch, it's going to take 3 patches before it actually does go on sale. So if you are impatient, I would say yeah, it's pretty good if you are familiar with top tier. If this is your first top tier, do not buy this thing. This is not a very noob friendly aircraft, even though the flight performance and everything is good, because the AIM-7Ms are so limited. Even if it's only in the fact that you have 4 of them and you can only guide in 1 at a time. Well, you can guide in 2 at a time, but that's a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it elite ball knowledge or whatever like that, but it's something that is a little bit more finicky. You can launch 2 missiles staggered at the same target, and then after your first one hits, you can switch on over to the other plane, and then the missile will curve to him. The issue is if you mess this up, then you basically just waste the missile for free. And I don't really recommend this if you aren't familiar with how it works. And there is a reason you don't really see me use this all too often. And that's because I'm trying to separate people. I'm trying to find people that are secluded, like this Su-27. So we launch on him first. We see him before he does see us. So I'm able to guide in that missile, and after that go defensive. The issue is that if he sees me on time, and if he launches on me before I do or at the same time, then I need to go defensive earlier, which means that my missile doesn't track, which means that he gets to shoot at me for free and basically can just run me down indefinitely until we merge. And in the merge, it will go roughly like this. The F-14 comes in going much quicker than we do. We lock him up with the radar and then switch on over to the AEM-3, and that missile has absolutely zero issue with bombing an F-14 that is, well, not properly flaring, as we dive back to the deck and then yet again fly into a tree. Luckily there's not many of those on Spain, so I think we are completely safe for the time being, as we veer off to the left side of the map and overextend a little bit just to have that positioning where they're not really looking at me. We shoot at the first guy that's engaging one of my friendlies. He's not paying attention to me whatsoever, and we get a pretty free kill out of it. As we then switch on over to the MiG-21 that does know that I'm here. I'm locking onto him, and I need to actually fly this direction so that his missile can't curve in. So we go up over the nose of the missile and his nose as we guide in the missile and apply it directly to his forehead. We have an F-14 in low Earth orbit, and we go into a bit of a pre-notch. I'm just going to the right here, that in case he shoots a Phoenix at me, I have the ability to very quickly notch it. I won't really have the ability to regain the lock and shoot him down, but luckily he's not firing on me, and I'm just able to keep the radar pointing into the right direction as another Su-33 decides to fly under me. Now this all looks incredibly risky, but keep in mind that I took a little bit of extra time to be in the back line, so there's not an entire swarm right next to this guy. Makes it a little bit safer to actually engage the guys that are flying underneath you. If you go straight in and you see guys passing under you, if you go for them, you are just opening yourself up for the rest of the entire enemy team, because now you're probably going to be spotted, and if you're not, then you're still going to be going pretty slow in front of everyone, as we switch on over to the AEM-3 and show him why there's levels to these heat seekers. Missile coming in from the F-15 from the clouds, and I noticed that it's kinda going for me. I wasn't sure if it was tracking or not, and then the J-11 appears on the screen and it's instantly obvious where that missile was going to be going, as we turn around and try to re-engage the F-15. Now we have a couple of guys in the middle here. The F-15 is going very fast and it looks like he is about to turn around, but then he gets aim-7P'd out of the air, and there is just an F-16 left in the middle of the game. The main takeaway that I'm trying to show you with these games is that your match presence just isn't all that high. It's pretty decent in the small engagements. It's very good when it comes to fighting people that are very close to you. The issue is closing said gap and making sure that you don't die before you reach that engagement. So here, the first merge, I thought I'd keep my speed to be a little bit more survivable. Then I noticed that he's just flailing around. I drop my speed, cook up an AEM-3, and that is going to hit him absolutely no problem, because these missiles are goated like that. And then we are on the side of the map, you're on the middle of the map, and then out of nowhere the Su-33 turns on his radar, and we see him at the very last second. Now luckily he was a little bit caught off guard, just like we did, except he was shooting at someone else, so I have the ability here to just guide in the AIM-7, and he needs to do something, but at that kind of range, at that kind of altitude, it's going to be very hard to not get slapped by the AIM-7, because, well, you're just completely out of position. At that point, it's basically over. You might try to roll it, but at about 6 kilometers, it's going to be a lot harder to do than it would be on the deck. Now here we try to conserve a little bit of speed, conserve a little bit of altitude. I'm trying to go over the furball here. I want to dive on them and top down AEM-3 them, because that is just the most effective way to ambush people. So that's what we are going to be doing. A little bit of an ambitious launch on the F-14, but I want to go for the MiG-21, because he is actually on the 6 of a friendly, and I'm not going to be firing just yet, because I'm probably going to end up team killing the guy. So I wait for the guy to pass, launch off the AEM-3, and unfortunately the F-14B died before my missile actually reached him. But this is a decent showcase of how the match might progress and to just see how quickly the game is over. You really are a shoulder firing rat that is trying to kind of third party people. Of course, again, in the 1v1s and close range fights, you dog on a lot of the planes that you will find at 13.0, but this is an attribute that it is not necessarily that important, because most of your engagements are going to be at 10 plus kilometers, where none of your advantages really exist. As we do the same thing, we go high, we shoot from top down, CF-188A goes down and still goes down in the next match as we fly towards the middle of the map. We have the Viggen right in front of us. He's only 10 kilometers out, he's not notching properly, and if he keeps this trajectory up, my missile will probably know where it is. And it knows this because it knows where it isn't, and he is not notching properly. He's not notching enough, and you're much better off notching a little bit more than you think opposed to notching a little bit less than you think, because notching doesn't really happen until you hit after 90. In some cases it goes to 110 degrees, so try to sit at about 100 degrees for the notch, and often you are going to be much better off. As the F-16 passes directly underneath me, and I'm actually going to choose to go for him. A lot of enemies or friendlies shooting at him. I'm going to be just too late, as we always are, and I'm just playing this a little bit more greedy than I normally would, because I'm playing a premium. I'm trying to see, can I get as many kills as possible to actually make it a good grinder? Is this something that I can recommend you people so that you actually purchase something that isn't completely ass? And it's a hard verdict on this one. I really don't know whether or not to really recommend it. It's a good plane with some very big flaws, and the issue is that the alternatives don't really exist. The F-4EJ ADTW just isn't it. At 11.0 though, the matchmaker is a little bit more lenient, and this might give you the reason to buy the F-4EJ instead. The thing is that the F-2A just fixes all of those issues that makes the EJ dreadful to play, and that's mainly the flight performance in terms of dogfighting, dueling, and perhaps even BVR. The EJ is not very good in terms of a plane. It's a missile sled, and it's a pretty decent missile sled, don't get me wrong. But it's not quite an F-2A. But at the same time, you're also not fighting Fox 3s, R-27 ERs, stuff like that, which really just completely outclass you. The thing is, with the F-4EJ, I just hate flying it. I think it's boring. I think you don't have hands in terms of flight performance, and it's at a battle rating where you're still kind of transitioning. So I would say that over there the flight performance actually has a little bit of merit. Whereas for this thing, the funny thing is that it's at the point where flight performance starts to matter less and less, and that's when they started to upgrade it. So it's a little bit of a shame. I think neither of these planes are worth it, and I would personally wait for them to add something else. But if I really had to pick something right now and you aren't a completely new player, I would say get the F2 instead. As we send down another Sparrow towards the Gripen. Now he's gonna end up actually defeating this one. There it goes. And what do? Well, we chase him. I have him locked up. I know exactly where he is as he starts actually notching me a little bit. And now I have lost him. We regain lock instantly because this radar isn't complete dog shit. And we shoot off an AAM tree at about 4 kilometers, almost on the deck. And that missile is, well, it's hauling. It has no issue trying to reach him. And that's why I think these AAM trees are so damn deadly. They have good range and they really just catch people off guard all the time. As we get ran down by an Su-33, as I try to use the terrain here to block his R-27ER, because he is completely stocked as far as I'm concerned. I think that he actually went for a landing, so he might have 6 ERs with my name on it. and I'm not looking forward to that. And I know where he is roughly, I know how far away he is roughly, but I don't know how high he is. And I'm trying to use the terrain here, but he is actually playing it smart, and he's flying over the terrain so he can actually top down me, and this makes my escape a little bit more narrow. Luckily, my friend the Dutch Mountain breaks lock at the exact right moment, and the missile goes dead in the water as we remerge with the Su-33. And I'm really only worried about R-73s here at this kind of range, as he completely explodes his balls, and after making the smart decision to keep altitude and speed so he can top down me, he decides to go that fast and then go into a dive and rips off his entire plane. Now here's a little bit of a trick. I hear some people ask me this all the time. If you land and you have no damage at all, and I mean no damage at all, you can switch your loadout right there. So we are gonna take a lot less fuel this time around because it is a 1v1 and I know that he's already heading towards me. So I'm very quickly going to push the throttle to 110% and then try to get off the ground. Now luckily he is still at 28-ish kilometers. So I have a little bit of time, but I do want to just fly directly towards him because I see a little bit of a valley over there. Or rather a riverbank, because I don't want to play this long range game. He's going faster than us, his missiles have more range, his missiles have more speed, they pull better, you cannot roll them, and he has more of them. So overall I don't want to take this engagement. I rather just break radar signature and then make sure that I lose him. I don't want to fairly merge with this guy, so what am I going to do is I'm going to follow this riverbank and I'm going to sit at a medium to high altitude where I don't peek up over it, but I'm just at an altitude where if he starts to climb, I will be able to pick it up on my RWR, at least if he's looking at me. So for now I'm simply flying into the opposite direction of where he is going, about 90 degrees off his heading. And we're gonna pick up a little bit of altitude here to see if he's looking in my direction. And it looks like he isn't, so we turn back around, we dip back into the valley, and we are going to follow it back to him just like we used it to fly away from him. And we spot him right there. He now knows probably that we are here, but we have reversed him without any fancy maneuvers. I'm on a 6, I'm launching my second missile, so I have 2 more. And he is going to be dodging the first one, and he finally pulls in. We merge with him, and at this point it's over for him because I'm in the F2 and he is in an Su-33. So what do? We try to bleed a little bit more speed than him, and then we simply just park ourselves directly on his asshole, and there is nothing he is going to be doing other than maybe try and Cobra button me, maybe try to R-73 me, but I'm pre-flaring and he is not going to be able to get those missiles off when I'm completely stocked up on everything, as the Su-33 decides to turn into a boat directly in front of me. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.